Loneliness is not a feeling. It is a medical condition. And it is killing people at a rate that should be making global health headlines every single day. A landmark study from Brigham Young University analyzed data from over 3 million adults across 148 studies and found that loneliness and social isolation increased the risk of premature death by 26 to 32%. To put that in perspective, the researchers directly compared the health impact of loneliness to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Not occasional smoking, 15 cigarettes every single day. And here is the part that changes everything. A study published in the journal Heart found that loneliness raised the risk of heart disease by 29% and the risk of stroke by 32%. Those numbers are directly comparable to the cardiovascular risk associated with high blood pressure, one of the most aggressively treated medical conditions in the world. We prescribe medication for high blood pressure. We monitor it constantly. We have entire medical specialties devoted to managing it. But loneliness, which carries an almost identical cardiovascular risk, is treated as an emotional inconvenience rather than a medical emergency. Today, we are going to break down exactly what loneliness does to your heart and your body, one biological mechanism at a time. Stay with me to the end because the last point is the one that most people find the hardest to accept and the most important to hear. Subscribe if you are not already, and let us get into it. 1. Loneliness raises your cortisol and keeps it there. When you feel lonely, your brain does not interpret it as a social discomfort. It interprets it as a threat, and your body responds accordingly. Your brain activates the same biological stress response that it would activate if you were in physical danger. Cortisol, which is your primary stress hormone, floods your bloodstream. Your heart rate rises. Your blood vessels constrict, which means they narrow and tighten. Your blood pressure goes up. Your body enters a state of high alert. In short bursts, this response is healthy and necessary. But loneliness does not produce short bursts of stress. It produces a chronic, sustained elevation of cortisol that never fully switches off because the perceived threat, which is the absence of social connection, is always present. Research published in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that lonely individuals showed significantly higher cortisol levels throughout the day and into the night compared to socially connected individuals of the same age and health status. And chronically elevated cortisol is one of the most powerful independent drivers of cardiovascular disease, inflammation, and immune suppression available. Your heart is not just breaking metaphorically when you are lonely. It is working harder, under more chemical pressure, every single hour of every single day. 2. Loneliness triggers dangerous inflammation throughout your body. This is the biological connection that most people never hear about, and it is arguably the most important mechanism linking loneliness to heart disease. When your brain perceives social isolation as a threat, it activates a specific immune response that increases inflammation throughout the body. Inflammation is your immune system's way of defending against physical danger. In the short term, it is protective. In the long term, when it never switches off, it becomes one of the most destructive forces in the human body. Chronic inflammation directly damages the inner walls of your arteries, which are the blood vessels that carry blood away from your heart. Damaged artery walls become sites where plaque, which is a buildup of fats and cholesterol, accumulates over time. This plaque narrows the arteries, restricts blood flow, raises blood pressure, and ultimately leads to heart attacks and strokes. Research from the University of Chicago found that lonely individuals had significantly higher levels of inflammatory markers in their blood, including a substance called interleukin-6, which is a protein your immune system produces during inflammation, compared to non-lonely individuals of similar age and health backgrounds. The lonelier the person, the higher their inflammatory markers. And the higher the inflammatory markers, the greater the cardiovascular risk. 3. Loneliness disrupts your sleep, and your heart pays for it. Here is a connection that most people intuitively sense, but rarely understand biologically. Lonely people sleep worse. Not just occasionally, consistently, chronically, measurably worse. And the consequences for heart health are direct and significant. Research published in the journal Sleep found that lonely individuals experience significantly more fragmented sleep, which means they woke more frequently throughout the night, spent less time in deep restorative sleep, and reported significantly lower sleep quality than socially connected people, even when total time in bed was the same. Here is why this matters for your heart specifically. Deep sleep is when your blood pressure naturally drops, your heart rate slows, and your cardiovascular system gets its most important recovery time. When sleep is fragmented and deep sleep is reduced, the heart does not get that recovery window. Blood pressure stays elevated for longer. The heart muscle does not fully restore. Inflammatory processes that should quiet down during sleep remain active. Research from the American Heart Association found that consistently poor sleep quality was independently associated with a 34% higher risk of heart failure. And loneliness, through its direct disruption of sleep architecture, is quietly driving that risk in millions of people who have no idea the connection even exists. If you find this video valuable, hit that like button right now and subscribe so you never miss content like this. Let us keep going, because the next 2 points are where this gets even more important. 4. Loneliness makes your blood vessels age faster. This point is one of the most direct and measurable biological consequences of chronic loneliness, and it sits at the very center of why loneliness kills. Your blood vessels are not static tubes. They are living, dynamic structures that expand and contract with every heartbeat. Their ability to do this flexibly and efficiently is one of the most important measures of cardiovascular health. When blood vessels lose their flexibility and become stiff, the heart has to pump with significantly more force to push blood through them. That increased force is what we measure as high blood pressure. Loneliness accelerates this stiffening process. Research published in the journal Psychology and Aging found that lonely adults showed measurably greater arterial stiffness compared to socially connected adults of the same age, the same weight, the same diet, and the same exercise level. The only meaningful variable that predicted greater arterial stiffness was loneliness. The researchers concluded that chronic loneliness was aging the cardiovascular system at a rate that significantly exceeded what could be explained by other lifestyle factors alone. In simple terms, a lonely 50-year-old may have the blood vessels of a 60-year-old, not because of what they eat or how much they exercise, because of how disconnected they feel from the people around them. 5. Loneliness changes how your heart responds to stress. Most people know that stress is bad for the heart, but what most people do not know is that loneliness fundamentally changes how the heart responds to stress in a way that makes every stressful situation significantly more dangerous. Research from Carnegie Mellon University found that lonely individuals showed a significantly exaggerated cardiovascular response to everyday stressors compared to socially connected people. Their blood pressure spiked higher. Their heart rate increased more dramatically. And critically, their cardiovascular system took significantly longer to return to baseline after the stressor had passed. This means that for a lonely person, a difficult conversation, a traffic jam, a work deadline, or a piece of bad news produces a cardiovascular stress response that is both more intense and more prolonged than it would be for someone with strong social connections. Multiply that across every stressful moment of every day for years, and the cumulative damage to the heart and blood vessels becomes enormous. Social connection is not just emotionally protective. It is a biological buffer that shields your cardiovascular system from the full force of life's daily stressors. When that buffer is absent, your heart absorbs everything unprotected. We live in the most connected era in human history. More devices, more platforms, more ways to reach people than any generation before us has ever had. And we are lonelier than at any point in recorded human history. The loneliness epidemic is not a social problem waiting for a policy solution. It is a cardiovascular emergency happening right now, in real bodies, producing real biological damage, in people who may not even recognize what they are experiencing as loneliness. Your heart does not need more medication. In many cases, it needs more genuine human connection. A conversation that goes deeper than small talk. A relationship where you feel truly seen. A community where your presence actually matters to someone. That is not a soft suggestion. That is what the research is saying will protect your heart. Reach out to someone today, not because it feels good, though it will, but because your heart is depending on it more than you know. If this video gave you something to think about, hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this every single week, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. I will see you in the next one.